The president has thrown down the gauntlet once again, calling on Congress to deliver comprehensive immigration reform. Today, Democrats who now control Congress have made some of their own demands. They're calling on President Bush to deliver significant support, more than a quarter of all House Republicans, to ensure passage of a bipartisan overhaul of immigration laws. Here to hash out the issues, Tamar Jacoby, senior fellow with the Manhattan Institute. She supports a plan that includes a guest worker program. Beck, executive director of NumbersUSA, an organization that does not support the idea, joins me as well. Welcome, both of you, tonight from Washington. Appreciate it.
Good evening.
Here.
Roy, let me start with you. The guest worker plan, according to documents that the administration has put out, will enable American companies to fill jobs by workers, American workers, who do not want to take these jobs. You have a very different viewpoint. You say the guest worker plan would hurt the U.S. economy. Why?
Well, first of all, we have probably a couple of dozens of guest worker plans already in place. So this is not like a brand new idea. We have guest workers, and we know that when you flood an occupation with guest workers, you drive the wages down, you turn it into a foreign job instead of an American job. So that this economy does not need to be driven more toward a low-skilled, low-wage, low-educated workforce. We need to be moving toward a more highly skilled workforce, and to the extent that we have jobs that require just lower skills, let's let our own lower skilled, lower educated Americans take those jobs and make better money at it while they're at it.
Tamar, break down, if you will, the dollars and cents argument for me.
The American economy needs unskilled workers to grow. In the last decade, half of our economic growth was made possible by immigrant workers. You can't grow a company without workers, and our workforce is more and more educated. People go to college, or even if they don't get through college, they want to work indoors in relatively easy service sector jobs. They don't want to work in the fields. They don't want to be busboys. They don't want to do roofing in the hot sun. But we still need people to do that work. And half of all our job growth in the past 10 years was made possible by immigrant workers. They're growing the pie for everyone, and we ought to make them legal so that they're actually paying taxes and they're on the right side of the law.
Roy, over to you. There are estimated to be 11 to 12 million illegal immigrants in the country. What should Washington do with those immigrants?
We should have an attrition through enforcement and self-deportation policy, which is basically to do the enforcement things that the president called for in a State of the Union address, as well as the details that the White House called for. We think the president has a lot of good things in his enforcement plans. There's no reason not to just go ahead, do the enforcement, see how many of those 12 million will self-deport. After we have fully in place an entry-exit system and full mandatory verification at the workplace, and if it turns out that we're stuck with still several million illegal aliens, at that point we could decide whether we have to consider some kind of a legalization. But let's find out whether actually workplace enforcement and entry-exit system will actually do the job. There's nothing to gain by legalizing these 12 million people who've broken the law.
Tamar, your thought on that?
What's to gain is that we need them in the economy. Why would we want to choke productive players out of the economy? That's crazy. I mean, why don't we, send back some of our natural resources to some other country? These people are good for the economy. And attrition, first of all, attrition won't get most of them to go home. Many of them have roots here now. They have families. They have jobs. They own houses. Instead of having them be illegal, be a security risk, be eroding the rule of law, we want to recognize the reality of the contribution they make and give them a way not to just forgive them, but give them a way to earn their way onto the right side of the law so that they can be productive and be paying taxes and have some legitimacy and some dignity in what they do.
Well, go ahead, Roy. Go ahead.
Well, but already 200,000 illegal aliens who are settled here decide every year that it's just too hard and go back on their own. If we had some enforcement inside the country, we believe that could go up to 500,000 to 750,000 a year. We've got to remember, though, we have 25 million American working-age adults who are less educated, that is, they have no college education at all, 25 million who are not working right now. We have millions more low-educated Americans to do these jobs, and they would do those jobs if we could just get these illegals out of the way.
It's just not true. We have full employment in this country now.
We have 25
used to be
million.
half.
All right. Ooh, time out. I'm going to jump in here because what I'm noticing is the two of you don't agree. Let's be realistic. Are we going to have all the people in Congress agree on immigration this time? Roy, quickly to you.
Well, of course, not all. The question is, can you get 217 in the House? We are hopeful, and we believe it's quite possible that we'll pick up 50 to 60 Democrats, that we can hold 85 to 90% of the Republicans. We believe that we'll stop it in the House.
Tamar, quickly to you on that.
The American people want this problem solved. People are sick of porous borders and illegality and people living in the shadows. And I believe that members of Congress on both sides of the aisle understand that public hunger, and they're going to step up to the plate and say, okay, let's make some tough decisions. Let's compromise. Let's get this done and move on to something else. We're here to govern.
Sadly, we have to move on to something else, too. But Tamar Jacoby of the Manhattan Institute, Roy Beck of NumbersUSA, thanks so much to both of you for your thoughts.